everything's a little different since things have gone remote.
Yeah.
But
what was it like back in the day?
Yeah,
Take us
back in the day.
Take us back to 2008. Anna Hollingsworth, come on down. Do, 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 do.
Oh, I'm already wildly gesticulating.
It's so funny because before we started rolling, we just were saying, be careful of gesticulating in the way of
I can only go
camera
to here.
A. Yes.
Not to here.
Stay in your frame. Stay in your frame, girl. Anna, it's so good to see you. It's been like over a year, I think, since I've had the chance to connect with you.
I've been in hiding as a animation supervising director.
You have been working so much.
Yeah, we don't get a life, so that's the one thing we cannot afford.
So we're not going to dive into work-life balance today.
Yes. Boundaries, not my specialty right now. Working on it.
So let's tell our audience how we actually became acquainted. Probably like 2008, I think. 2007,
Yeah,
2008.
way back to the Mr. Men
Men
show.
It's Mr. Men. It's Mr. Men. It's Mr. Men. It's Mr. Men.
Yeah, so I was animating on that show back in the day, and you were doing lovely voices, and so already we were like
so fun
collaborating. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It goes way back. And so when you started on that show, was that one of your first shows?
I had only done maybe like one or two other shows before that. So that was very early on. I was like fresh off the boat from Georgia, drove over, like Hollywood or bust with my dad out here. And then he left me out here all by myself. And I got my first little animation job to get in the door.
And now you've made a name for yourself. Here you are.
Well,
Well, I mean, and it's so interesting. Did you go to school for acting? How did you? I'm sorry.
For animation?
Animation.
Well, you know what? Actually, that's a
school for
good transition because I went to school for 3D animation, but I went to UGA, which is not necessarily what you think of as it's not like a CalArts type of animation school or anything somebody like aspires to go to in that aspect. But they just won some student Emmys, and Atlanta had like sort of a bustling little animation scene starting, and they let us, through the animation program, we got to build our own major, which includes acting for, like if you want to, which I think is really important because, if you're animating your characters, you have to sort of like figure out, I mean, a lot of times you've seen people use the mirrors and they'll act and watch themselves or record themselves. Like you have to figure out how to act in order to like emote through your character.
Right. You need to understand what sorrow feels like and then get used to it, living it as a career for the next 40 years.
What exhaustion. Totally.
So you took acting classes when you were there?
I threw in some acting classes. I threw in some game design classes way back then. I even threw in some like stone carving classes because I was like, okay, after hunching over a computer for a long time, I'm probably going to want to like just get a pneumatic diamond blade, like power tool and just go like, I'm making art, but it's rocky and hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was really fun. I remember making stuff that like I made this like woman's torso, and then the stomach was like carved out, and then I put like lights in it, and then I put like I went to the fishing lure store, and I got like all these like fishing like fake plastic fishing like worms and stuff, and I put them inside, and they were lit from underneath, and they were like, oh man, Anna's really dark. I was like, I was just trying to make something to look deep.
You know what? That piece would look great in my living room.
Right? Like, whoa, what happened to her? She's been through a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember also making like collage, this like collage with like women in magazines and like negative self-talk. Like, the woman's plight.
I did also do in college a life-size oil painted self-portrait of myself as Napoleon.
Do you still have it?
My parents had that up in their house for the longest time. I mean, it's a really big picture to put up. It's 5'2", so
Yeah.
not that big, but it's big for a picture. And I was like
5'2",
up when you
5'2".
walk in, and I went and looked at that painting when they took it down one day, and I was just like, burn it. It's like, oh wow, I guess I've grown since then, or at least.
So did you know you wanted to be an artist when you were even younger than that?
Yeah, that's something that my parents actually always encouraged in us. And like even my grandma was a painter. She just did it like as a hobby, I think. But
That's so cool.
My grandpa too, he was into like woodworking and stuff, and he would make dulcimers, like all these instruments. And both my grandparents, both of my grandpas would make like little wooden toys and stuff. So there's a lot of like creativity. My dad was into drawing and painting a little bit. And so growing up, like me and my sister were both kind of encouraged to do that stuff, which was nice. It wasn't your parents kind of breathing down your neck being like, be a doctor, nothing wrong with that.
Right, finance.
Yeah, not a bad idea now in hindsight.
They work crazy hours too.
This is true. And a whole lot of schooling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were always like really into it. And I think there was a time when I was like, maybe I'll do tattoos or something. And my dad was like, how about architecture or 3D animation? And I was like, oh yeah, 3D animation. So whenever we kind of like took the art scene in like a more, like a less lucrative way, he'd be there to steer us back on track.
Sure, yeah. And 3D animation, right? It's sort of like the becoming a broadcast journalist for acting type of thing. It's
especially,
like, oh, I'll do this, but it's an actual career when
they're both,
exactly. Anything's a career. You can make a career as a painter. It's just, there's no roadmap.
Totally. And my sister actually ended up being a ceramicist, and then she was like collected by museums and stuff.
Wow.
And then she went to teach ceramics, and now she lives out here, and she's momming right now, but
oh my gosh,
taking a hiatus.
Yeah. And well, the good thing about the arts is they're always in you, and they can come back at any time. That muscle memory is still there. And something like ceramics is timeless.
Oh yeah, everything she does.
Not going to age out of ceramics.
She will make a cake, and it'll be like the most amazing cake you've ever seen.
Wow.
It's like she kind of just oozes creativity.
Amazing. So you moved here.
Yes.
With a wish and a prayer.
Yes.
And like, how did you go about getting that first opportunity in the animation industry?
I kind of like met a couple people out here. I think Mike Hollingsworth was one of your former guests.
Yes.
So
one of your former husbands.
Yes, one of my former husbands. But we had been sort of like talking about animation. We had connected online, and I was like, hey, are you working in animation out there? I'd really be interested in like finding out like where you work and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I'm working for Disney. And like when you think about it, you're like, oh, Disney, I'm going to be working for Disney if I just can get my foot in the door. But it's one of these little studios that is like making a show for Disney. So it's a little bit like off Broadway, but for animation. So I did, though, get to go to that studio. And, like they were looking for people. And so I took a little animation test. It was back in...
What's that kind of test like?
Well, it was funny. I mean, I still remember what it was. It was for the Shanna show.
Not
which
multiple
was
choice, I'm sure.
No. Yeah. Exactly. That'd be funny if it was. What is a cell?
C.
Go.
You just said the prettiest C ever.
But it was like this little ballerina girl, and she was for a Disney interstitial called The Shanna Show. And she would like, her little stuffed animals would come to life, when she would use her imagination and stuff. And she was like doing a lot of little ballerina moves or something like that in the test. Aww. And I just remember being so confused. Like I was trying to overcomplicate it. And I also like the hubris. Like I was like, I feel like her body should be like a little bit different in this area. Like I was making adjustments that like I should not have the jurisdiction.
You were not allowed.
Yeah, like obviously the character is as it is designed, and
You're like, she is too thin.
Yeah. It's like, let's give her a little bit of curves here. But other than that, they were like, great job, and we'll bring you in the door. And I started working there right away. And
wow.
Yeah, and that company had like other shows to come through. That was like, I mean, all of them were kind of little kids, preschool shows, and they were sort of like educational. There was trying to remember what shows they were, but it was like Lou and Lou's Safety Patrol and Shane's Countdown to Kindergarten, like
Oh, yeah.
really cute shows,
Mhm.
but, not something that necessarily like everybody would remember.
They weren't tweeting about it.
Yeah, so I'd done a few of those, and then I heard about Renegade doing Mr. Men, and I was like, ooh, I always loved Mr. Men, like all those books. So got my foot in the door over there.
Yeah.
It's like once you're in, as long as you do a good job, you get like a reputation, and you sort of can drift from place to place. People are like, oh, we need you. Scramble, scramble, scramble.
Yeah. So what's your everyday life like? Like what is the career of an animator? What does that look like the day in and day out?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything's a little different since things have gone remote.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. What was it like back in the day?
Yeah,
Take us
back in the day.
Take us back to 2008.
you usually stumble into some little studio. Animators keep really lax hours a lot of times.
Mhm.
So it was a bit different than I was used to. I thought like once I joined the professional industry of the animator, you'd be like, you clock in at 8 and, but animators are, because I guess it's, less corporate and more just relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would roll in really late, stay really late. People kept kind of odd hours. And I remember there was like this phase when everybody was sitting on like Pilates balls. You know how like,
Yeah, sure.
so like suddenly the whole animation studio, everybody's like sitting there bouncing, doing their work. But usually you just have like some shots assigned to you. You have to like watch down the animatic so you get context of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure you don't do what I did on my first test, and you don't like deviate from like the model. You want to keep things on model generally. You don't want to like zig and zag from the style of the animation. Like, if some people are like, if the show has a certain way that they like to do blinks, for example, and then you went along and did like some really slow, like crazy eyelash blink, well, that's not going to fit in with the rest of the show. You're part of a team. You're part of like animation is just one of the most collaborative art forms. If you think about how many people have worked on this one frame that I've seen, well, you have everybody from the writers up through the background designers and the art director, like all these people touch this stuff.
Yeah.
Like every single shot.
Board editors, the editors, the board artists. Wow.
Everything.
Yeah. And so you started over there. You were working as an animator. By the way, I was getting interviewed for a local radio station this week, and he looked at my credits and he was like, "She was on the Mr. Men show, Miss Sunshine, Miss Nasty, and Miss Whoops." I must have written it down wrong, and I was like, "Ooh, Miss Nasty."
Yeah,
like what does she sound like? Little Miss Nasty. Hey, ow,
Alicyn, if you're
it's
nasty.
me, Miss Nasty.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so how do you, I mean, is that a skill in itself to be able to draw like the team? Like,
yeah, being adaptable is really important because, you're not making your show unless you are, and that's a whole other thing, great. Then you get to teach people how to draw like you. But, like every show has a different style, and you sort of have to figure out quickly, like, and adapt to what it is they're doing. Like, some are really in depth and realistic. Some are very abstract. Sometimes like home movies or something, has like the squiggle vision or something. So there could be like a special treatment or a process or just a way they do things. Also there's like puppeted animation.
Yeah.
Where, so many different programs. But yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how familiar your audience is with like the tools of animation, but it's changed a lot from when I first started. We were we weren't necessarily doing things on pen and paper, but we would have like a little tablet. Way back in the day, we were just like using our mice to move stuff. And then, we got the little pen tablets, the Wacom tablets that were down here. So you're still having to sort of disconnect like what you're looking at and like what you're drawing. And then, like, eventually the Cintiqs came out, and like, oh my gosh, it's been such a game changer. It's almost like you're back to pen and paper again because you're sitting there drawing, really drawing on a screen. But it's cool.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you've worked in a lot of different fields and different aspects of animation. You moved from animation, now you're working as an animation director. Can you tell us a little bit about what that role is like?
So I did animation, and then I felt like I got pushed up the ladder. I was like, no, just let me do my drawings by myself. I don't want to talk to people. But they pushed me up that ladder. And so then I was doing animation directing, which means you're sort of like in charge of a team of animators. And sort of over the course of time, it's been more retakes that are done in the US, and a lot more of the like content from the very start, like setup, is done overseas. That's been like a huge change over the course of my career as well, because it wasn't like that when I first started. So yeah, mostly just handing out scenes. Like every animator is their own precious snowflake, and it's good to, like, when you go in, ask what they're into. Like, are you especially good at effects? Like, do you like acting? Are you good with action? Find out what their strengths are, instead of trying to like just divvy up things and be like, all right, y'all, you have 5 shots, you have 5. Because people are doing something they're passionate about, they're going to put a lot more into it, And once I was able to do that with like my team of animators, it's like, oh yeah, this person, give them all the close-up shots, because like with all the acting stuff, they're really good. Like, this guy's so good at effects, like just throw him all the effects and he can churn them out, Also, humans aren't computers, and different people work at different paces, and some skills, some strengths are stronger than others or whatever. So, it's like a lot of just kind of almost being a psychologist in a way, getting to know your team. And now on this project, I've been supervising directing, which is
Clone High.
Which is
for
Clone
HBO
High,
Max,
yes.
Seasons 1 and 2.
And it's just seasons 2 and 3 after a 20-year hiatus. And it's just a huge team. Like, you're overseeing like the comp people and the editors and the art and everything. So it's sort of like checking with everybody and spinning a lot of plates.
So is that your job, to check in with the supervisors then of each team?
Yeah.
And keep the ship running? Wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Believe me, I feel it one of our editors today was like, oh, I was watching the latest episode that came out, and one of our comped shots didn't get in. I was like, look, can you just not tell me that? Because it hurts my heart a little bit every time I, see anything is slipped through the cracks, because, I feel it.
You almost take on personal responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of that boundaries thing.
It must be a lot of pressure. I mean, how do you not take your work home with you?
Well, that is impossible, because my office is literally my home. And I have made myself available like any and all hours of the night and day and morning. And that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to set a boundary at this end of the marathon, but it's something that I want to do a little better at next job, I tell myself.
And Clone High, I mean, it just recently came out on HBO Max.
Yes. Or Max now.
I'm so sorry. Max.
It's just funny because it's been an interesting launch of Max. I don't know if you've heard about like some different foibles and stuff.
No, I haven't.
So this latest one, latest couple of episodes they released with descriptive messaging or something. So basically and you can't turn it off. So it's basically describing the entire episode, like while the episode is playing.
No.
And some people were like, is this part of a joke? Like, I don't get it. So
it's for hard of hearing, for deaf people.
I think so. So Max is but it's audio.
Oh, it's audio.
Yeah. So
it's for blind.
Yes. Yeah. So somebody actually describing everything that you see on the screen.
Yes.
As the other talking is going. It was very weird.
Wow.
So Max has been like there's been a couple hiccups in the launch.
Was that your show?
Yeah, it happened for our show.
Gosh.
But they've also been really awesome in like the promotion they've been doing. Like there've been
I saw your billboard. I took a photo of it right on right down in the heart of Hollywood.
Oh, it's made me really happy, and they've been also great about letting the gang have their creative moment and not chiming in like a destructive way. Like some studios will just like note things to death, but they're so good about like fostering creativity and stuff. So that's been nice.
Were you a fan of Clone High when it came out in 2010?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I think I was in like high school and college because I'm so old. And I remember watching that show. Like, MTV had so many like weird little shit. Like they had Daria. Were you a Daria fan?
Yes.
And I think they had like the Oblongs, which was another weird one that I
Beavis and
really
Butthead.
loved. Beavis and Butthead. Mission Hill. There's like they're having like little heyday of animation going on over there for kind of adults and teenagers and stuff. And I remember watching Clone High and just being like, this is so weird and funny and like ridiculous. And turns out it like at the time, it didn't have like a huge following, but it developed like a huge cult following since then. And obviously, this was like Will Forte's first job as a voiceover actor. And Chris and Phil, like
yeah, so Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and
I don't know if you've heard of those guys. Kind of a big deal.
yeah. It was one of their first shows
in animation. Yes, it was like one of their very first shows.
Wow.
So yeah, and I mean you can see right off the bat how creative and kind of their sense of humor was sort of unlike anything I had ever seen at that time, for sure. They were both cartoonists, but yeah, they joined forces to make Clone High.
So that was their first collab.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I loved that show growing up. So when they told me that they were, thinking about me for this project, I was like, oh, first of all, like I didn't know they were going to reboot it. And so like that was just like, oh, wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then like working with them, like obviously a dream.
Had you worked with them before?
I did actually, but it was kind of like in preparation for this project. I worked on an episode of the Afterparty, which is they had one animated episode. I think it was episode 6 in the first season.
Oh wow!
So that was pretty cool. Just getting to get to know them with that.
I mean, I feel like I would just be fangirling so hard.
Oh, I was trying to sort of keep it inside.
And Bill Lawrence too.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we don't get to see like a lot of one-on-ones with him, but he came to like the wrap party and stuff, or the premiere party, and his creative mark was put on the first scripts, for the first scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's so funny and awesome.
Wow. So yeah, they say it really starts at the top too, and the level of talent, it really shows.
Yeah. Our first show, we had 2 showrunners, and Erica Rivenoya was our first one, and she had worked on like Borat, like just recently. She's hilarious, and she's such a inspirational woman that was just like a delight to work with, and I think we were all a huge fan of her.
And so we talked a little bit about how the animation director fits in. How did the showrunner, because not every animated show has a showrunner.
Right.
Some just have the director. So how do those 2 pieces fit together when you have both?
They're usually in charge of like the writer's room and everything. And they're kind of more on like sometimes shows are very much where it's like divided between the writers and the showrunner and then like, the animation. This was kind of like that, especially during just remote working. It's hard to like get that one-on-one sort of feeling,
Yeah.
But they were good as much as possible. We had like lots of evercasts, and we ended up having like a change of showrunners midway through, and Eric Durbin came on and became our showrunner. We only have people named Eric or Erica, apparently. Because Erica
makes it easy.
Yeah. She went to write a Dr. Seuss movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's also like a lovely person and so funny, and we've been definitely blessed with having great people to collaborate with, and they've been able to let us sort of chime in here and there with writing stuff, or sort of
fun,
like pitching little
ideas
visual jokes and stuff. Yeah. So
are you also involved with hiring from where you stand?
Yeah. On our side with the artistic aspect of it, definitely. For like the writers, not as much, but we did have one episode where we had like one awesome voice actor, but it just wasn't like fitting the character that well. And I was like, I would really love to do it is Paul F. Tompkins. And so like the showrunner was nice enough to listen to our suggestions and stuff. So there's times when we would kind of pitch people like that, and we would have like a little bit of say in that kind of stuff.
How fun.
Nice. And he ended up doing the character, and it was awesome. But I mean, the first person was also great. It was looking for like a little bit of a different kind of take.
Yeah, and that is so much of it, right? Getting the right voice for the character.
Oh, it was also, you had to like basically ADR most of the show, which was, recording it to picture, and I think they weren't available.
For everyone?
So. Oh, there's been a lot of that.
Oh, wow.
Because in our show, there's so many rewrites taking place.
Got it.
A lot of times we are just like right on top of each other. So the re-lip syncing and stuff was a bit of a challenge. And but yeah, and there was a lot of ADR on our show. So I know you probably have done a lot of that, but it's not
a lot of dubbing for anime.
Yes,
Yeah.
so you are probably like a master.
But it is a skill. I mean,
it is a skill.
Counting the beeps and making sure that you're coming in, and I guess if you're redubbing yourself, it's a little bit easier. But yeah, if the words are changing, or are they then changing the flaps?
Yes.
Yes, I see.
I mean, that's got to be a really hard job for a voice actor to come in and like you're maybe delivering a different line that has a different meaning. You're looking at this picture and trying to match timing, but like
there's definitely an art to it to stay in the moment,
right,
and stay connected.
Because you're already bringing all the acting chops to it as well. It must just be like juggling or something.
Oh yeah. Well, the other challenge is, where is the script?
Yeah.
Is the script right here and I can see the person in the script in the same moment? Or is the script here and then I'm pulling a line off and just saying it? Because then as soon as your eye comes from the line, you're just instantly cold reading, right? So it's like you want to make sure your word perfect. It's an art.
Yeah.
There's an art to it.
Some
people don't like it. Some people choose not to do it, but I enjoy it. Rather
a little challenge.
Glutton for punishment.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you guys have been working on that show. Did you start pre-pandemic?
No, not on that show. Okay. I had a couple of projects during the pandemic before that one started up, but pretty much for the past 2 years, I've been working on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, time has really flown by.
Yeah. And you're also a mom.
Yes.
I feel like since I became a mom, time's just like completely.
They are wonderful at being little markers at like how quickly time is passing, because you're like, oh my gosh, you're 7. Wow.
And it's crazy too, because it's like you don't see them growing. It's just in the pictures you look back and then you're like, you were that tiny. I remember that. And you were a baby and now you're like, I can't hold you in the same ways anymore.
Totally.
It would be weird.
I still have a picture of Avery, my son, on named after Tex Avery, because we're that nerdy. But it's him when he was probably about 5, I want to say. And I'm still showing people this picture like, this is my son. And then somebody was like, he's older than that though now, right? I was like, oh yeah, I really need to update this picture. I don't think about it in the moment. I'm just like, oh, Avery, it's my baby.
So, I mean, I know you're working in adult animation now. Well, we call it adult, yeah?
Yeah.
It's adult animation. Well, how has being a mom influenced the way you approach your work?
I definitely have to invest in some good headphones. I think there were a lot of meetings where I was glad that he was wearing headphones, because I was like, can you guys?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I can't say that like working in, the only thing that it's changed is I have to be a bit more guarded about, like, he's obviously not able to see any of the stuff that I'm working on, but he is also around, so I have to be a little bit careful.
Sure. Does he watch? Is he a fan of UniKitty or some of the other shows?
Yeah, he loves UniKitty. He's very supportive. Like, even though he hasn't seen an episode of what I do, he'd be like, Mom, I really think Clone High is such a good show. He told me the other day, he's like, you are like the 99% out of 100 best animator. I liked it because he like gave me a little room to grow. It's like, oh, maybe he's trying to make it feel more real. It's like, he just
doesn't know what's out there. He just want to leave it open to the possibility.
Yes. Like, doesn't want me getting a big head, Of course. If he's trying to make the compliment more realistic or something.
Keeping you humble.
Keeping me humble.
Kids, they do keep you humble.
Yes. But yeah, he's a little sweetie. And he loves drawing. I can't say that he's like a very careful drawer. He's more just like, he's rushing in and you can't tell what anything is.
Too. He's doing whole comics. He'll tell me everything that's going on. I'm just looking at the squiggle. I'm like,
yeah,
got it.
Like, oh, that's upside down. Okay, now I see it. I still don't see it.
I mean, unless you're watching, because then we definitely see it. We see it. We totally.
Oh yeah,
that's a
dog looks like a dog. Yeah,
dog. I'm dog. It's a dog.
Right.
So we talked a little bit about like what it was like, kind of going into a studio, and are a lot of studios back, or are people or do you think this is a permanent switch? Are we going to be working remotely from now on?
That's a
Animators?
good question. I feel like a lot of studios have sort of made the sort of foray into having people back, but I do think it's going to be a bit more of a hybrid schedule.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like once you release those animators out into the wild, and they're living in their pajamas full time, it's kind of hard to like pull them back, you know?
Shower?
Yeah. 5 days a week? Not possible. Yeah, definitely. And
I say that because I know.
yeah, I mean, it is nice to have the flexibility
Yeah.
to sort of reallocate your hours a little bit. Like being a mom, you know, if your kid has a baseball practice at 5 on a Wednesday and you're like, okay, well, I can do this. And then I'll come home and when they go to bed, I'll do a few more hours or whatever. It is nice. You could just spend more time with them. I think you end up like paying for it in some way.
Sleep.
Yeah. Because the time doesn't come out of thin air. But yeah, you know, I know Nickelodeon has made some steps into like having people work more in-house. And our studio was like, probably not on this production, but on the next one. So I personally love working in a studio. It's a lot easier to concentrate. And there's just something about being with the people. I mean, I like people.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Despite being like a little animation introvert, I do like people. And it gives me a charge to be around others. And there's also something about like I had to learn harmony. Went on to various projects because I didn't know that program before. And being around other people that are working in it, you can be like Harmony Toon Boom rather than Flash or, you know, whatever.
Didn't even know that. Cool.
Yeah, so that's become sort of like the industry standard for 2D shows that aren't traditionally animated necessarily. But I can be like, hey, how do you do this? Instead of like scouring the internet for tutorials.
And then you have to watch a video. They always want you to watch a video. I'm like, just type it out.
And I'm too like impatient to wait for it. And so I fast forward and then I miss the part I need.
Then you have to watch a commercial.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't pay for YouTube Plus. Yes, you know me.
Yeah. So then what is your average day in the life of Anna these days?
Ding, 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 ding. Notifications. I think it's like my little birds are chirping. So at a certain point I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to like brush up on my harmony skills and help them animate because I need to like we need more person power.
Hands on deck.
Yes. But it's hard to really concentrate on like one thing because every day is just a series of like, okay, what fires are gonna crop up today, you know? Like or just question, like everybody has questions. Everybody wants you to be like reviewing things, like reviewing episodes and looking. I don't like to just like let things go through. So I'm kind of like send every shot through me. Like I want to see every retake. So they will make me like playlists and I'll just go through on ShotGrid and like make sure nothing's like crazy out of line or like, you know, lip sync.
What would a note be? Like
oh my gosh, so many notes.
Left hand.
Like if it is a rigged character, there are instances of the rig breaking. You know, you'll see like an elbow kind of jutting out the wrong way or something that shows that it is not necessarily hand drawn. If there's something like that shows like the rig, or it could just be like they forgot to render a character on accident sometime or something. Sometimes it's just like the lip sync is not quite there. Sometimes it's the performance. Fortunately, we have like an awesome animation director, Justin Nichols. Like he's so good. And he's also a super big Clone High fan. So
coincidence? I think not.
Pretty much everybody on a show comes from a place of being like complete fan from season one.
That must be so fun.
It is kind of, but it's also like we will work, you know, till into the night to get this done because it's a passion project, but simultaneously, you know, it's like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll catch a lot of things, and he's great with like directing the animators' performances to be really, you know, on the mark. But yeah, there's still little things that, you know, and there's just because there's constant changes in the writing. Sometimes like you have to relay that information because you're in a meeting that say somebody else wasn't. Like, oh, they think Harriet's too angry in the shot. Let's change her eyebrows.
You're the communicator.
Yes,
you're the glue that binds it together.
Well, me and an army of production people. Because I will say, I feel like production is the unsung heroes that like keep the crazy wily artists on track because, you know, we can't do anything without production. Like, and then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, the creative, you know, like all these people get their accolades, the people that design this, and you know, everybody gets their little moment in the sun. But I don't think we give enough due to production people because they are awesome. And I could never have made it through without my production team. Matt Jepsky, he's like my right-hand man.
Matt Jepsky.
Yeah, and the editors. Love them too.
So what was it like finally getting to see your work on the big screen for the...
It was a little bit intimidating because we watched it with Chris and Phil, like at the premiere party. And it was on like a really big screen, you know, like a movie theater size screen. So, you know, there's definitely stuff where I was like, every single retake that I had personally done, I was like, oh, thank God we did that one. Okay. And then I would catch little stuff and I was just like, oh, hope they didn't see that. I know they saw it though, because like Phil is like, I mean, both of them are like eyeballs on everything. But I think Phil is like, has a perfectionist in him. And so he has like sort of a habit of even giving notes like after something's already, it's like already in the movie theaters and he's like, oh, I got notes. And Chris is like really well versed in animation, so he gives really animation savvy notes. But yeah, I mean, it was exciting and just nerve wracking. Like, I hope everybody likes it. I can't watch. Oh, they're laughing. Okay, good. All right, yay!
How's the fan response been so far?
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. We love our fans. Max did accidentally leak the episode. I don't know if you heard about the leak that happened.
What happened?
That's been kind of happening with a lot of shows. Where this was a not finished episode that leaked onto the internet, and it like still had scratch in it. It had like unfinished animation, and so the fans were
They thought that was done.
They knew it wasn't done, but they were just like, oh my gosh, you know, it was like a lot of spoilers too, like stuff we had worked really hard to craft over time, and some things that we don't have any control over. Like, for example, the reason Clone High was canceled in the first place is because there was a hunger strike that happened over the character of Gandhi, literally. And so, like in MTV India, and they ended up like canceling the show.
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
So when the fans saw that like Gandhi wasn't in this episode, you know, wasn't necessarily going to be in these 2 seasons. By the way, if you're a big Gandhi fan out there, we're still talking about how we could potentially incorporate him, but who knows? No promises.
Jump on Twitter now. Show your love for Gandhi.
Oh, they already have.
Hashtag Team Gandhi. I came across some of the...
But yeah, some things that were like weren't necessarily in our control, you know, or they would comment on that a lot, and it's kind of like, well, we can't, or our hands are tied, you know, or there were some design things like Joan of Arc, like our beloved, you know, like character has in season 1 has like a pointed forehead that has like it's like flesh colored. And I think because back in the day, people were, we changed it upon Chris's request because he wanted it to be like ever so slightly rounded and have like a little bit of hair there. And he changed it because people used to complain like, oh, Joan's head looks weird. She looks like she has a bald spot and it's like comes to a point. And so he was like, okay, let's fix this. Because yeah, people complained back in the day. And now people were complaining. They were like, I can't believe they beveled Joan's head. We're just
Meanwhile, it's probably like 3 people. 3 guys.
You'd be surprised.
30,000.
Yes, a lot of people care. We care too. We wanted to keep everything like as true to season 1 as possible because we're all the biggest fans of season 1 also. So, you know, all those thoughts that y'all have. We also love Gandhi. We wish Gandhi could be in, you know, like the episodes, but yeah.
We want to keep our people healthy and eating.
Yes.
That's a high priority.
Yes, that is well.
So is there any form of animation, like, do you have any dream shows or things you're like, oh, I would just love to work on that? I mean, you're kind of living the dream right now.
I really feel like I am. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the new Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
It's like so amazing.
Oh my God, right?
I would love to lend my artistic skills to something like that.
When do we get the next one, though?
I know. Well, good news is it's already in the works.
Year, right?
Yeah, like they planned on, they've been working on, you know,
hearsay.
both of them sort of simultaneously. So it won't be like forever away.
Yeah, because there was too long of a break between
Yes.
the first and the second.
And they've been working really hard on this one, and oh my gosh, you can see it paid off because I was just like blown away.
Blown away.
Yeah, so good.
Would you ever switch over to feature animation?
Oh, heck yeah.
Would you rather be in feature?
You know, like it's interesting because I think it would take some getting adjusted to the time schedule. Maybe it's changed a little bit just with everything being sort of more pressure and things on TV having like a higher caliber of quality. You know, like what is feature anymore? You know, depends on where it airs and what's the length. You know, all that stuff is sort of up in the air now.
Yeah,
but they have a lot lengthier of a time to do things, which sounds lovely, but at the same time, I think I've become a little bit addicted to the fast pace of TV animation. And I feel like it is a little bit of superpower to be,
What's the next scene? I need to do it now.
Totally.
Sure.
But to be able to like work within the confines of, you know, like a hectic schedule or something like that, it is something that I've gotten a little bit addicted to. Just the adrenaline rush of like making things work for a TV schedule.
Yeah.
And I think that like a lot of times good things come out of being under pressure and a lot of, you know, sometimes happy accidents. This project towards the end has been a little too much pressure, don't get me wrong, just because the things got compressed towards the end. But yeah. So yes, I would love to work in feature animation.
What about creating your own show, Anna?
Well, I do have some pitches that I was working on kind of like at the beginning of the pandemic with my friend Jessica Barutsky. She was doing some of the designs for them. She is a powerhouse and her designs are so lovely. So maybe during this little break, I'll have a chance to
revisit.
Revisit that. But yeah, there's an aspect of that that's a little scary too. But you know,
well, maybe someone's just going to keep pushing you up the ladder.
Yes, I feel like that is
going to give you another boot.
Totally, I feel like that is my career.
I mean, there's still less women working in animation than men. I'm not sure what the numbers are. I'm trying to think because I'm a member of Women in Animation, and they've been trying to get to 50-50 for like 20 years.
I feel like we're getting close.
Yeah, but I think it's still more like 30 or 38 or something.
Oh, geez, really?
I will have to look at the numbers and then put it in the show notes.
The good news is it's heading in the right direction because when I first, you know, joined the animation industry, it was a little bit of like a, you know, you feel like Snow White or something. And you're like, oh, really? Just me here? Okay.
Me and 7 dwarves. Coffee, please.
I guess I shouldn't mention other princesses.
Non-trademarked princesses. So what about like for somebody that was looking to break into the animation industry now? Do you have any advice?
Well, the number one advice that I always tell people is it's a really small industry. So once you do get your foot in the door, be nice to people, like be good to work with, like be friendly and try to learn. And I will say like something that I was not necessarily good at when I first started was when people do give you notes, try not to take it personally. Because it may not be like something about your animation. It may be about how it fits in with the bigger picture, something that they can see that maybe is not like it's macro and you're not seeing that. It's easy. I felt very much like if somebody asked me to change like my scene, that it was, oh no, I'd done bad, you know, like, yeah. And it's not that.
It's our art, of course. It's almost like an extension of ourselves, but.
Yeah, but to have the ability to collaborate and to be versatile is really important. So if you do happen to get that foot in the door, make yourself nice to work with again, and people will remember you and they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to work with that lovely person that always like takes a note and then turns something like even better than I expected. And, you know, that's pretty easy career advice. But I guess also there's just like so many forms of animation and so many ways to make animation yourself now in your own home that maybe you didn't have at hand before. So just make a little short. It doesn't even have to be a short. It could be an exercise, you know?
Yeah.
Like getting your stuff out there, doing one little animated like test of somebody, you know, sneezing or something, and then putting that on Instagram or whatever, putting that out there for people to see, that goes a long way because people see that stuff. And, if you keep doing little mini exercises like that, you'll soon have like a huge like selection of things to choose from. And you can show somebody like, look, I can animate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better than like a really long
and being able
short.
to create your own fan base based
Mhm.
on your work, that speaks volumes when you go in to apply for a job.
Totally.
I follow a lot of artists on TikTok and I'm just like, wow, this person's so good. And then I'm like, oh my God, this person's like 17.
I
You
know, I
like,
know.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's how that there was like 14-year-old Lego animator that worked on
Yes,
Spider-Verse.
explain that to our audience. I read that article on your Twitter.
Yeah, I think they found his work on social media and
done a little interstitial kind of thing.
exactly, just a little, in his own home, just a little test. And he's like 14 and he did it for fun and they hired him to work on the dang movie. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I gotta get that guy on the show.
Yeah, really, yeah. That would be interesting. But
wow.
Yeah, make a little thing and don't get bogged down in trying to make some epic thing that says everything and it's perfect and beautiful. Just do a little exercise. Try a different program, try a different art form, like do sand animation. I don't know, whatever is a passion for you. Make a little thing, something that's bite-sized, and show people that. And they're going to be so, it doesn't always have to be a big epic thing.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to start small and build on the little successes. And then the next thing you know, you have a body of work and something to show for it. And
exactly.
Skills you learn along the way.
It is true.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been lovely having you in Alicyn's Wonderland. And thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.